Vasel.
Zee Garcia, how are you?
Sam Healey.
Today we're taking a look at our top 10 favorite deck building games, although we have expanded that to be pool building games. This is a genre that originated in, I think, 2006 or 7. I forget when Dominion came out. Dominion was the first game in this genre. And there's people who say, well, Magic the Gathering was a deck building game because you built decks and play against someone else. But that is not what we're talking about. That's a completely different thing. These are games in which there is a pool of things that you buy or get through other ways. You make a deck or stick things into a bag or whatever, pull the things out of a bag randomly or draw cards from your deck randomly, and then continue on.
Right.
Sometimes the goal of the game is to get points. Sometimes the deck building is not even the main part of the game. It's a side thing to the game. Does that cover it, I think?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's important to be clear that in a deck building, the way we're defining it and the way it is defined, you build a deck as you play versus games that used to build a deck and then you played.
Right, but the thing is, no one calls those deck builders. I mean, those are called usually CCGs or LCGs.
Right.
Or TCGs. So many different. What? We need like common
collectible living card games and trading card games.
Yeah, well, trading card game was that term was that copyright by Wizards of the Coast? There was a reason that people used trading card games over CCGs. Maybe the word collectible was considered like a bad word.
Maybe.
Anyhow, I found that this is a genre I really like. It was a really easy list to make. I could have made a top 25 probably.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I looked through 600 games.
I looked through 12.
I looked through 600 games trying to get 11
Really?
or 12.
Really? That bad?
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed it was also not my genre.
Not even close.
I pulled a Sam on this one. So the top 5 games are in order, and they are, in fact, deck building. The next 5 are my 5 favorite books.
What did you really do?
Nothing. I picked them by the way what I always do. I'm joking. My favorite is 1, and then 10 is...
Oh, okay. Well, anyhow, I bet you we have some decent amount of crossover because there's still not tons of these out, but there's a lot. There's a lot that came out, and it's kind of calmed down in recent years.
But I think the good ones are what's going to be on our list. I mean, sure, a lot of deck builders have come out, but
I feel confident I have 1 or 2 that are not on your lists.
well, probably so. Just
All right.
because
Yes,
I don't
yeah.
like the genre that much.
Yeah.
Well, let's find out.
Number 10.
All right, heretofore, this game has, as far as I can remember, not made any of my top 10 lists, except for one, and that was a couple years ago
Was that a disappointment list?
at Dice Tower Con,
Overrated?
where we made an overrated list. And it was on that list. I'm telling you people, I was struggling to find 10 games in the genre that I enjoy currently. And I played the mess out of this game, mainly because everybody else at game nights, when
I made
this
him.
game first came out, they made us play this game multiple times, every game night. And
What is it?
It's Dominion.
Oh, that didn't make my list.
I'm almost angry that this is on my list.
You are angry. You seem
I
angry.
am, because
Agitated.
I would not put this on my top 10 list. This is not one of in my opinion, a top 10 game. It's very bland. It's very themeless, really. I mean, there's a theme there, but it could be anything.
Right.
But I'll give it its props, I guess I'll put it that way, because it did start the genre. It did provide the opening to the rabbit hole, so to speak.
Okay.
So my number 10 is Dominion. There you go.
My number 10 is one of the deck builders that came out in 2015. It is a cooperative deck builder, and that is Xenoshift. Xenoshift Onslaught, I think is the full name for it. I really like the cooperation. It's a deck building game, but what's cool about this game is you can buy cards and then play those cards for other people. Sometimes cards will end up in your deck now.
Okay.
I can buy some cards cheaper. You can buy some cards cheaper. There's super strong theming in this game. There's this random enemy deck of evilness that shows up, and they're like, every time you flip one, it's like, oh, I hate that one, but you'll hate the next one just as much, if not worse.
The only good bug is a dead bug.
I firmly believe in that. So anyhow, my number 10, Xeno Shift Onslaught.
All right, my number 10 is Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park. No, my number 10 is...
What is wrong with you today?
My number 10 is Paperback. Paperback is a deck building game meets a word game. I don't particularly like word games that much, but if I'm going to play a word game, this one is pretty good because it gives you a nice amount of interest with the deck building, a nice amount of just stuff going on. So it's cool. It's a good game. It's going to be higher on Tom's list, so I'll just let him talk about it a little more later.
It's almost like the worst of both worlds.
My number 10. It's good. It's a good game.
I was just trying to sniff out that this was on Sam's list or not.
My number 10, Paperback.
Number 9.
Number 9 for me is a game that when I first played it, I was sure it would not be one of my favorite deck builders. And I was sure that I would get rid of it. And I still have this game because they come out with an expansion every year, twice a year it seems. And the artwork is finally now good, and that is Ascension. Now, part of the reason Ascension has built its way up is because the app is amazing. It's one of the first apps that came out for a board/card game, and that was just solid. I mean, so easy to play, fun, but also because as the game went by, it became more interesting. When we first played it, I still remember that first play of it. I brought it out and was like, oh. I think you were in that first play, and people were talking about it. Sam was like, this looks like a high schooler's notebook.
Looks like a high
first
school
printing of it. I don't know if it was a mistake or what.
Looks like a
But
bunch
you
of
could see the
doodler-
paper lines.
Yeah, you can see
No,
the
it wasn't a
paper lines.
mistake.
That was on
Assuming
purpose.
that was a mistake, right?
No, it wasn't. And then we played it, and everyone was like,
purpose.
this is
You
super
could see the
simple.
lines in the paper. It looked like some kid's notebook got published.
Okay, but as time went by, this one has really grown on
Got
me.
rid of the lines.
Yeah.
And you saw the
Actually hired an
box.
artist.
You saw the box for the
Same
newest
guy.
one. The box for the newest one. Really good artwork.
The new one looks good.
Anyhow, but besides that, the game itself is really fun. It's really simple. There's not a great deal of strategy, but buy the best cards that are there at this point in time. But it plays quickly and over and over and over and over again. Really enjoy it. That is Ascension.
Cool. My number 9 is, again, this is going to be higher and probably Sam's list at the very least. And my number 9 is Star Realms. Star Realms is probably the smallest deck building game. No, there's a smaller one.
Yeah, I knew there would be.
Very tiny little deck building game with a sci-fi flavor to it. I have a hard time getting the flavor in this game to come out and kind of greet me. It's the symbols is like, oh, the blob faction and the whatever. It's green and blue, and so I wish that was a little stronger in the game. But having
Well, it's the
said
Cthulhu
that,
one. That theme is stronger.
yeah, but the game's not as good.
Think so?
I thought
The iconography
it
bugs
was a
you.
little clunkier, right? And so I like Star Realms better, and I like the sci-fi theme, but it's a little sort of veneer-ish. I wish it was a little deeper, but still a quick game, good game. Cuts to the quick. I like it.
I'm
So-
really enjoying that these smaller deck builders are coming out now.
Yeah,
Like imagine,
yeah.
like there's one I'm reviewing this week called Dale of Merchants, a small deck builder,
Mm-hmm.
but just really fun.
Very nice. All right, so my number 9, Star Realms.
My number 9 is moves, I guess, more into the pool building or bag building realm of this whole deck building genre, and that is a game called Automobiles. Automobiles is a pretty good game where you're all taking laps around. You know, it's a race, and these different cubes are pulled out of a bag. You can buy cards that will add cubes to your bag that do different things, and as you pull them out, that dictates what you're able to do. And then you have to use your cubes in such a way that moves your car along the furthest track or something to that effect. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different things you can do with your cubes, but the point of the whole game is it's a race. So at the end of the day, you want to move the furthest. And you can only use certain cubes on certain levels of the track. You know, you can move further if you're higher up, and then you want to cut down if you can. So it simulates that whole NASCAR racing aspect of it, and it's pretty fun in the same vein. So again, I was struggling, but Automobiles, my number 9.
Number 8.
My number 8 has been mentioned already. Dominion.
No.
Dominion
gonna be
was
on
the
his list.
first, and there's a gajillion expansions, and there's a couple of good ones even.
I'm feeling this enthusiasm here. I'm so glad to be here today, guys. Woo!
I think the next expansion is going to be Dominion Shark Jump or something like that.
I'd buy that in a second.
No, Dominion's fine again, but I have a couple of issues with it, which is the same stuff that Sam was talking about. It's a little bland. I wish the theme was a little stronger. I don't like the fact that a lot of people can just buy the money cards and win. And so there's all these cool power cards, and you're going, I'm not going to use those. I'm going to get the money.
Okay, but I don't play games with those people. I mean, how many times have you played a game with someone who did that?
The fact that you can is bothersome to me.
Oh.
That should not be an option. It's all these cool cards, make them work together, or just buy the money and buy the points and win. But it's obviously a smart design, and I still have mine, so I like it.
And that's not your number 10. So your 10 you like worse than this one.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
What do you got?
Interesting.
What negative game do you have? Were you forced to put on your list this time?
This is number 8.
I'm not in that. I want to make sure I'm not in that category. I have these games. I like them. All right.
I gave my copy of Dominion away.
To a fire.
No, I didn't burn it.
It's not an offering.
I actually brought it to school one day
And forgot it.
and taught the seniors how to play it. One of them really liked it and said that he was going to ask his parents for it for Christmas. His parents said no, so I gave it to him.
Okay.
I gave it to him,
What a guy.
and I have not replaced it.
What a guy.
My number 8 though is actually where I start hitting movies that
He starts smiling.
Movies, hidden movies. He's
hidden
doing it backwards now.
I'm starting to hit games that I actually do enjoy, and this one is. I'm sorry. My number 8 is I forgot the name of it. For crying out loud.
He really likes it.
A Few Acres of Snow.
Oh,
gonna say
I
fire
thought this
in
would be
this.
higher on your list.
No, A Few Acres of Snow is first of all it's a game that is set in the French and Indian War. First of all, that is the first cool part about it, because you just don't see a whole lot of games that are made about that war. Zounds are made for other wars, but this one is kind of unique, and so that's cool. On top of that, it does have, this is one of the cool parts, games where deck building is actually kind of cool for me, because you're building your forces, you're building your abilities, and all this other kind of stuff, and it's a pretty tight 2-player game. And apparently there's a way that the game is broken. Don't care. I haven't even read about how you can break it, because I don't care about that kind of stuff. It's a good game. I enjoy playing it. Few Acres of Snow.
All right, my number 8 is another pool building game, like Sam mentioned, where you pull things from a bag, and that is Orleans. I really like Orleans. The new deluxe version is amazing, but even before that, I enjoyed it. I like pulling stuff. It feels like a machine in this game. You're pulling stuff. Ooh, I'm plugging them in here. Then that happens. I plug them in here, and you're moving these different tracks up. And ooh, now on this track, I can put a cog on this thing, and I don't need to pull that piece anymore. It just always works. I love that sort of thing. The expansion made it into a cooperative game, which is really good, although very hard, which is what a cooperative game should be. I did not expect to like Orleans. Really, really enjoyed it. Easy one in my collection. I think all 10 of my games are in my collection.
This is definitely a genre you like.
It is.
Yeah.
So, Orleans, my number 8.
Number 7.
My number 7 is Shadowrun Crossfire, and this one would be higher if it was a little less clunky with some of the things it sort of throws on the players. Things like the end game, if someone drops down to 0 life and quote unquote dies or is pulled out or whatever, then there's this weird phase where you have like 1 round to complete the mission, or then like you have and then suddenly like someone dies and it's like, okay, here's all these new rules just for 1 more round of playing. It's a little clunky. I wish it was a cleaner design in many ways. But it is got a cool theme on it, and I do like that whole putting a bad guy in front of you, and that is your guy. He's going to start smacking you around. Take him down. And people can help you do that. I like that basic mechanism very much. Cool deck building, interesting weapons and actions you can add into your deck. When you buy the card, it goes right to your hand also, which is something I like in deck building games. One of those things that just irksome. It's like, here's a cool card. You'll see it later. And this game does away with that, and I love that. That's a good feeling to be like, I paid money for that, I want it now. So, Shadowrun Crossfire is a solid deck building game. I like it a lot. That's
If you like that
7.
guy fighting you, you'll really like Warhammer Quest, I think. All right.
Cool.
My number 7, which I suspect is on Zee's list, but it might not be. My number 7 is a thin deck builder, a small one that came out last year in 2014, and that is Super Motherload. Oh no, that came out this year, 2015, you're right. Seems like it's just the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Super Motherload is essentially the board game version of Dig Dug. You're building a deck of cards, and you're using those cards to dig down and get jewels, which you then use to buy new cards.
Right.
Then the cards are worth points, and so you have to decide whether you're going to get cards that are worth more points or cards that help you dig in the different directions you want to. It's really simple and really easy to get into, has some cool retro sci-fi art on it, some weird stuff, but also very easy on the eyes. It has a little bit of a scrolling board type thing. It's a game I could teach really quickly. It's not difficult. There's little downtime. You're like, I'll dig down here. I'll drop a bomb there. It's very fun and easy. So, Super Motherload. Still dumb name.
Okay. My number 7 is a dice building game, I guess you could call it. Where it has, you use the dice that you have to purchase more dice, which then you can use to attack other people, and that is Quarriors. And Quarriors came out, when it first came out...
This is actually lower on your list than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it is. There's other games that are like it that are higher. Spoilers. Anyway, this was first introduced to me as Dominion with dice. And so
Sam was thrilled.
yeah, I
think that's how everyone introduces it for the first time, though.
When it came out, what else was
when
there
it
to
came
say?
out.
You
Correct,
know?
exactly. That's what
Right.
I'm saying. So it was introduced to me as Dominion with dice, and so I was like, okay, well, we'll see. And then I watched people play, and I was like, this is pretty cool. I like dice rolling. At least it has that aesthetic element where you are, or tactile element rather, where you're rolling things. It's not just flipping down cards and using them to buy other cards to flip them down and buy more. It's
Card hater.
there is some action involved. So Quarriors is an interesting game. Follows the same construct of you have a pool of dice that you start with. You roll them. Some of them give you points that you can use to buy other dice, and then damage and defense and all this other kind of stuff. And it has a better theme, I think. It's still just a fantasy theme, but I think it's a goofy fantasy theme where everything kind of starts with a QU.
It's really dumb.
And it's stupid. But the fantasy theme, I think, actually fits better on it than other deck building fantasy themed games that are out there. But anyway, that's Quarriors.
Number 6.
All right, my crossover with Z. He called it. I didn't know that. I was surprised that you thought this was on my list, and that is Paperback.
Oh, I know you like it quite a bit. You
I
like it
do.
more than I do, and I enjoy it, but you like it a lot.
I like word games as long as it's not all about making 2-letter Scrabble words. I hate that. Like,
Oh, I can spell all of those.
yeah, okay. And I hate that part of Scrabble. I don't mind trying to make a word out of letters, though. I think that's interesting and fascinating, and that's what this game does, Paperback. But it also, you're sitting there going, do I want that L, which I can use in a lot of words, or do I want that Q, which I hardly ever get to use, but has a really great special ability on it? And it mixes some of the best parts of, like, Dominion with a word game, and it works fantastically as a 2-player game. It's one of the few games that my wife really likes. It's a game we can play back and forth. You know, she loves word games. I love deck building games. It's peanut butter and chocolate, baby.
Yeah, so, I don't think I'd want to play with more than 2 players. Too much downtime.
3's okay. 3's okay.
Because it's like, especially later on in the game, the further you go in the game, it seems to me, the more downtime I felt the game had.
The one thing though about this game that the downtime doesn't bother as much because you're sitting there thinking about a word to play with your cards. So am I.
Yeah.
It's not like I have to wait to my turn to start thinking about that.
Right.
So I can sit there and look, and I'm like, oh, you're thinking good because I don't know what word I can make with these yet.
Sure.
So this would be a good game for a live playthrough then.
Oh, we're definitely gonna do this one live playthrough with 6.
It.
No, 2-letter words are not allowed in this game. I like it. All right, Sam.
All right, my number 6 is another dice building game, and I like the theme on this one
dice.
a little bit better than Quarriors, and that is Marvel Dice Masters. And it is a game I like because of the theme. I still really think that there's not a whole lot of difference between Quarriors and Dice Masters. It's just basically 2 different themes. Sure, there's some differences on how you play the game, but generally speaking, it's the same game. You're taking dice, you're rolling them, you're using those dice to buy other dice, and all this other kind of stuff. I don't see the difference between the two. This guy does. Whatever. I still enjoy the game. It's fun. I like all the Marvel characters. I like all the DC characters that are in it. I'm not so keen on all the other genres that they've been going into, like D&D and what is it, Pokemon? Or no, not Pokemon.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh. So I don't care about those. But the Marvel, the DC, those are ones that I do enjoy the game. So that is Marvel Dice Masters.
All right, my number 6 is Legendary Encounters Alien, which is the only one I've played actually, but Predator, from what I've seen, seems very similar. So, take your pick of themes here. Legendary itself is not on my list. I thought it was all right, and I liked the superhero thing, but I found Legendary Encounters to be a better game ultimately. It has a little more interest. It's got more tension in it, I thought. It just works better for me. And I do like the theme. I like the alien theme. I like the Predator theme once I get to it. The being able to play cards on somebody else's turn to assist them, I like that whole thing. So the game has a nice amount of cooperation in a clean way. It's like kind of like detached cooperation a little bit. It's like, oh, you want some help? Here you go, here's your card, but then I'll let you do your thing. The thing I don't like about the game is that it's got 22,000 decks you need to shuffle and set up, and I mean it comes with a playmat because it kind of has to, because it's that complex. It's like
getting it out of the box and sorting out the cards is
that's a beast.
Oh man!
And every time you play it, there are moments that this game will stay on my shelf because I think about it and I go, oh, I gotta set up a board. Let's play this other one. But I do enjoy the game quite a bit, and so my number 6 is Legendary Encounters Alien, a deck building game.
Number 5.
All right, my number 5 is a game that actually just came out this year, and I just got an email last night that my copy is on the way, and it is a faith-based themed game called Commissioned, where you are taking the roles of the different apostles within the New Testament church age, and you are trying to seek to build the church in and around the areas surrounding Israel and Jerusalem and all that good stuff. And the deck building part is the mechanism that's used to build your faith. And so each player has a deck of faith cards that are enabling them to do different things throughout the course of the game. And you can use your faith to buy stronger faith cards. So that's the building your faith aspect of the whole of the theme. And it uses the deck building mechanism to accomplish that. And it's a really neat game. It's one of the first Christian themed game that kind of opened my eyes. That people are starting to make Christian themed games that are just as good as secular themed.
Did you play this at Gen Con?
No, it was at Origins first.
Oh, Origins.
I played it first at Origins, and then I got what do you call them? A
prototype.
A prototype,
which we don't review normally.
Almost this is the last one I think we did,
right.
And it was because I asked to do it, not because we normally do it. But that's how much I enjoyed the game and how much I believed in the game. So anyway, The deck building aspect is, like Tom was saying earlier at the beginning, only part of the game. There are other area controls. It's almost like a Pandemic in reverse, because in Pandemic you're trying to quell everything, whereas with Commissioned you're trying to make it spread. So that is Commissioned, my number 5.
All right. My number 5 is Nightfall, which has a really cool theme.
Wow, I thought this would be I would have picked this for your number 1.
No, I enjoy the game a lot, but
Okay.
and the genre has evolved. The stuff higher on my list is games that are not purely deck building,
Oh, I see. Okay.
because I think it's a good mechanism in a game with other stuff, ultimately. But Nightfall is a good one. I enjoy the theme with the werewolves and the vampires and that whole thing. I like that. I like a lot of the expansions, and there were a lot of expansions. And they introduced cool stuff and some stuff that I thought I could leave out, and you can do that. And I like the main mechanism in the game quite a bit, which is that whole, it sort of comes from collectible card games where you can chain cards together based on some symbols on the cards, and then they'll trigger backwards. So it's like Magic the Gathering, the chain or whatever. So I like that whole thing, and you can play on other people's turns, which I like as well. So Tom would play and then leave me available, say, red, they're little moons. If he leaves me available a red moon and I have a card that's red, then I can chain it at the top of his chain on his turn, and mine will go off first, and then the others in reverse. And I like that because it allowed for some neat interaction and the ability to sort of mess with one another. I like it a lot. It's a little bit hard to sort of wrap your head around, but it's a neat one with a good theme, which is kind of rare for deck building games. So Nightfall is my number 5.
I think my one thing I did not like about Nightfall, I think it's fine and a good game. I think the chaining thing is not intuitive.
It's not, yeah.
And also, you have to be very thoughtful when you're putting out those initial decks. I think just putting out random ones is not the best idea. Because you could have a bunch of stuff that doesn't chain.
Well, you draft them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I really like that in that game. Also, you have decks. You draft 2 decks that only you have access to.
No, I get that. I'm
Which
just
makes
saying
you, like,
sometimes all the
unique a
decks
little
out
bit.
there, like, nothing comes after green. So there's no, especially when you play with more expansions.
Yes, I hear you. Right. You got to be careful with that, yeah.
All right, my number 5. This is our triple crossover. And I love this game. These two guys are crazy. And that's Dominion. Okay. Dominion.
It's my number 8 game of ever.
Yeah, and you were frowning like half time you were talking about it.
Garbage.
Dominion was the first in the genre and dominated the genre for several years.
Yes.
Lots of, follow-ups came immediately, and Dominion just blew them all away. And for a while, it was the game that everyone was playing. It has since slowly died down. I don't care, though. I really like it. I won't argue that it's themeless and that it's sterile, almost in a sense of how you play it. But I also like the fact that it is that way. I can just go boom, 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 boom. I love playing with people who know what they're doing. I love pulling out 10 decks. I like all the expansions. There was a decline for a while in the expansions. The last couple I thought were much better than the previous ones, but Seaside and Prosperity are still the best.
Yes.
But great, there's such a huge variety. I have so many Dominion cards. It will be a different game every time. It plays well with 2, 3, 4. That's it. I won't play with more than that. But I just love it. I really do.
I agree with everything you said, except I love playing with people who know what they're doing. Because I hate playing with people who know what they're doing in Dominion. They'll look at all the cards and go,
I know how to win.
okay.
Yep.
No,
And
okay.
then like the rest is like, press autopilot button,
Exactly.
sit back and destroy me.
I understand that.
It's not fun.
I'm not talking about those people. I don't want to play any games with those people. I'm talking about people who are not totally new to it.
Yeah, but Dominion opens the door to that in a big way.
Whatever. All right.
Like everything else you said, I totally agree with you, yeah. What number was it on your list?
Dominion 5.
Yeah, it's my 8. It's not that far off.
Yeah, but I smile because I love it.
Number 4.
All right, my number 4 is another crossover with Tom, I believe, said this one, and that is Xenoshift Onslaught.
Yeah, I knew you liked that one.
Xenoshift Onslaught is I think one of the first games that started to breathe new life back into this genre, because everybody got stuck on the whole idea of chaining cards together, and you're trying to get your engine to work. Xenoshift takes that mentality and says, no, this is our engine. We need to make our engine work. We can help each other. I can play cards to help you. You play cards to help me. And we have to kill these bugs. And the theme actually made complete sense for me for one of the first times with this whole idea of deck building.
Right.
And there's another one that's higher that this is one of the first times it did that, where the theme made sense with the mechanism. But Xenoshift Onslaught is a really great game. It has really cool artwork, very immersive feel. I like the cooperative play of it, so it had to make my list. Number 4 is Xenoshift.
Yeah, I agree. Like even the you're playing a paratrooper and he's dropping down on someone else's board. He's here to help you out. Oh, you need some weapons. I'm the guy who buys them cheaper. Here's a weapon. It's
Right.
cool. I have a grenade. I was saving this for my guys, but all right, you need it. And you throw it. It's cool.
Throw a grenade at him?
Yes. So that
All right.
ends.
My number 4 is a deck building game that the deck building is like it's more of a thoughtful, strategic one instead of these. Most deck building games are like fast, buy, build, play, and that is Core Worlds. I really like Core Worlds, especially with the first expansion. The first expansion really breathes a lot of life into the game because there are tokens you could use. Core Worlds is a little too slow for me with 4 more players. I really like it with 3. 4 is okay, 5 don't, never. All right, but 3, it's good. I like the fact that you are buying these troops, but then you're like, okay, do I play them? And then am I going to attack this planet with them, or am I going to leave them here in front of me for a while? And it has a nice culling thematic reason, like you want to get the low troops out of your deck because they are now guarding this planet.
Right.
Which I like. That makes sense. And it's a way to take them out of your deck. I like that everyone starts with different cards. Each person has a special ability, like their leader with a cool thing. I like it. Very strong theme.
Isn't this the one that gets really mathy at the end?
Oh, that's my main beef with this game.
It's where it turns into like a math
is
lesson.
A math problem. Halfway through and on, it's a math problem.
I can see that, but I don't mind that much.
This was my number 10, and I removed it to put Dominion on because I at least remember at one point enjoying Dominion. I
thought you liked Core Worlds.
I did enjoy Core Worlds. I've only played the game once, maybe twice.
You haven't played with the expansion. I think the expansion would actually make you like it more.
I enjoy most of the game, and then it says, okay, get your calculator out.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, okay, I'm done.
I agree with that.
If we did our worst deck builders of all time, do you remember Heroes of Graxia?
Yes.
Talk about a calculator, because they're like, all right, I have all this stuff,
Yep,
and how much do you have? Okay, let's compare those numbers.
Another reason
Find
why
the
it's not
logarithm
on
of
my
that
list.
one.
Oh my goodness.
Another reason why.
All right, Heroes of Grax. Yeah.
You don't remember that one?
Yeah, I do.
I remember that because you got a rule wrong.
Shut up. That's not
halfway through, and we were like, "Oh man, I'm
It's
now."
hilarious. We're like, this game is really slow.
I know exactly.
We're not drawing cards because Tom
Exactly.
forgot to read that rule. All right, my number 4 is a game that Tom loves, and this is the DC Comics deck building game.
I knew you could put this on your list, so I was already
I
prepared
like
for
it a
this.
lot, and this sort of is very similar for me, and it sort of takes the same spot of like Ascension. They're similar games to an extent.
They're very similar.
DC Comics deck building game just happens to come out a little more for me because I can play with my nephew. I can play with, I can play with anybody who is into the comic book setting. And while it's not thematic at all, really,
I'll fight people who say it's thematic. Come
most
on.
of these games are still not thematic. Deck building tends to not be a thematic.
I would
mechanism.
argue that Xenoshift is very thematic.
I haven't played that one actually, but I really want to.
You need to.
And I would argue that the Legendary Aliens is very thematic.
The deck building aspect doesn't feel thematic. You know what I mean?
Okay, I see that, but I'm saying the game itself feels very thematic.
Yeah. But I like it. I like this one. It's simple. Your turns are quick. The game's a little long for me. So usually I'll pull out some of the bad guys you're supposed to beat just to kind of make the game a little shorter. But makes for a great 2-player game also. You can just go back and forth real quick. And it just works for me. You have an avatar, someone you represent, or that represents you. You are, I guess. So I like that. I'm like, oh, I'm Aquaman. Why am I Aquaman? But I like it. So DC Comics deck building game, that's my number 4.
I will concede that this is a great one, especially for people new to the genre. It's probably the easiest deck building game to play.
It's one of
simpler
the
than
easiest,
Ascension.
Yeah.
And I actually don't mind the Lord of the Rings version was okay. I haven't played the Street Fighter, but it drives me batty that they have Street Fighter, superheroes,
That's right.
and hockey, and they all can fit together. Oh, look, Gandalf scored a goal.
You can actually combine them?
On Bane. I mean, come on.
That is kind of an epic sentence there.
I want to see that game.
Gandalf scored a goal.
Hey, you guys,
You shall not
Score!
you laugh, but I seriously consider for the marathon
Mixing
about
a
having
bunch of
Jason
these?
bring in a set, mix it together, and see what happens.
I'm game.
Number 3.
My number 3 would not have made my list in its original form or original game, but then they upped the game and made an advanced version of it, and then I used the epic variant, and that is Thunderstone. Thunderstone, when it came out, was basically, hey, here's a themed version of Dominion. And it was a little bit themed, but still, it had like some 10 decks of cards. It's like, oh, did you want swords this game? Well, guess what? They're not here, And so I liked it, but I once Richard Lonnie showed me the epic variant, which then I modified, and then they actually made it an official variant. The game is so much better that way. Like, wait, here's a pile of weapons. Here's a pile of this. Right. Then, and it also felt more of an adventure game. The deck building almost became not secondary, but it's not as like you're okay. Ooh, I need to. Okay, you felt like you're preparing for an adventure. And then they added a rule to the advanced version where you don't like your hand, you can discard some of it and draw again. So you got a couple guys that you like, I'm going to draw until I get the hand I can go adventure with. Okay. And that really improved the game. Sure, it might mean there's a couple turns where you're not doing anything, but then you have that turn where you felt good. Because if there's one thing that's frustrating about deck building game, it's when you buy these cards for a cool combo, and then you never get it the whole game.
Of course.
Right.
That drives you nuts. And then in Thunderstone, you could get it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could seriously wait till you draw your whole deck. I'm going to get those 2 cards together. But you could do it.
Yeah.
So, Epic, Advance, Thunderstone, which is currently out of print, and it's very expensive. But I would suspect it will be back within print within 5 years at some point. I would imagine. It was popular enough. I could see it come back someday.
All right. My number 3 is, again, a game, and I think my deck building I like better as a part of a game that has other stuff going on. And this game feels like that to me. My number 3 is the Big Book of Madness.
Wow! All the way to number 3?
Yeah.
Wow!
It's a co-op game, again, in this list of deck building games.
All right, got it.
The deck building aspect of it is very simple. Your deck is composed of color cards. There's no text on them or anything. It's a color. And there's 4 or 5 colors, I forget now. You start with a basic deck. You get stronger cards in that with more, dots of the color. But the game is not about that. That's just sort of a way to communicate among players and to be able to trigger what you want to trigger in a way. I like the fact that you can sort of leave a card face up on the table for somebody else to use on their turn. But ultimately what you're trying to do in the game is to feed these monsters and close this book and whatever. And the deck building aspect helps that. It makes sense in that game because you are a wizard who is studying at school and you're kind of gathering these things to trigger your powers, trigger your spells, whatever. It works in that game. But it isn't the game. It's a part of it. And the whole game is complementary. And I like that about it. So my number 3 is the Big Book of Madness with its very simple deck building as part of it.
It definitely promotes teamwork. I like deck building cooperative is a good genre.
Right, which is pretty much would be my favorite kind of deck building. I think would
Gotta play Xenoshift, man.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to figure out what Sam's. I know what one of your top 3 is. I don't know what the other 2 are. All right.
My number 3 is probably the one it is, and that is Star Realms.
Oh wow! I thought that was your number 1.
No.
Yeah, me too.
I like Star Realms a lot. I mean, it's top 3. But the reason I like Star Realms is because it's quick and it's fast and it's simple. And it's something that I can play with my kids. My kids actually challenge me at it. It's not something where, if I really played as best as I could just steamroll them. You know, they actually provide a challenge, and that's what I enjoy about it. I like the sci-fi theme of it. It has a very rapid pace to it, which I enjoy as well. You can get a game done in probably a half an hour, and that's probably pushing it. And I enjoy that. It packs a lot of game into a very small amount of time, and where it actually kind of fits a filler category for me. And so Star Realms, I knew it was going to make my list, just determined where it was going to fall, and that is number 3, Star Realms.
All right.
Number 2.
You know, actually, I know your top 2. I do. I don't know which
do?
one's number 1, though.
I wrote what I think are Sam's top 2, and then I wrote one of your top 2, Tom, and I don't know, I can't think of another one for you. Anyway, my number 2 is the smallest deck building game on this list, by far.
Is it from AEG?
No? Or you're thinking of Valley of the Kings?
Yeah.
It's on my short list, but no, that would be like my 11.
Okay.
This is Friday, a solitaire deck building game from Freedom and Freeze.
Because he doesn't like playing with other people.
I hate people. So, and I like solitude and islands. So Friday is about Robinson Crusoe being less dumb, which actually, like, there are cards that say very dumb at the beginning. Like, your starting deck has him, like, poking himself with a stick. And then, like, as you build a deck, you encounter... It's a solitaire game that's a deck building game, and both of those things work. It's kind of a marvel of design, really, if you think about it, which Freedom and Freeze tends to do. If the man's good at one thing, it's pulling a trick out of his hat. And this little game's kind of a trick out of his hat. In it, you are fighting through a deck. The deck cards have 2 halves. The top half is a challenge. If you beat that challenge, you then take that card, you flip it, and you stick it in your deck. It's now a card you use to beat the deck. Once you run the deck out, it gets harder. Now you're looking at like a secondary stat on the same cards, and now you got to really start stepping up your game, and then it does it again when you run out that deck the 3rd time, and then you got to fight some pirates, assuming you're still alive. There's a resource management aspect to it. The card, it's like a push your luck deck building combination, which really works for me. I just think it's a fascinating one-player game. I get that's a niche, but I like that niche, and so my number 2 is Friday. Probably the weirdest deck building game on this list, but I really like it.
I think it's on Sam's list. All right, Sam,
Yeah,
number
right.
2.
My number 2 is Marvel Legendary.
Boom!
Yeah.
Marvel Legendary, I enjoy... me as a gamer, I like Legendary Aliens better as a game. I think I agree with you that it is a better game. Mm-hmm. But I like Marvel Legendary better because it is more palatable for a greater number of people.
Okay.
And I can feel safe bringing it out in front of a greater number of people. The artwork in Aliens gets a little dark and nasty and filthy and not filthy, but just bloody and gory.
Chest bursty.
Yes. But there's none of that in
adjective,
Marvel. There's none of that in Marvel Legendary. And generally speaking, I get the same feel with Marvel Legendary that I do with Aliens. There is the cooperative nature that Aliens has that is kind of devoid in Marvel Legendary. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're still a team of heroes working together to beat the guy. But from what I can remember, you can't play cards in other people's thing and everything like that. I don't think so.
In Aliens?
Marvel Legendary.
No.
You can't play into other people's.
No, you're like on your own, but you're working together.
Alien
You're all
gives you...
working together.
Well, technically, Marvel Legendary was originally designed, and some people play it this way, where the most points, only one person really wins.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No, I don't know anybody who plays it that way, although they played it that way in a tournament.
Yeah.
Which ticked you off.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that because it goes
You're
against
not working together.
Right, it goes against what I think the whole core of the game is, and that we're a team of superheroes.
Marvel Legendary Civil War, baby. That's what it is.
But anyway,
Which I bet is coming out next year.
it is a game that I have on my shelf, and it will stay on my shelf because one, my kids love it. My wife doesn't like it that much, so that's why it doesn't hit the table more often. But Marvel Legendary, my number 2.
And mine. Number 2, Marvel Legendary.
Love it.
And I agree with Sam. technically, from a design standpoint, Legendary Aliens is better. I can't argue that, but I love the Marvel theme so much, and I love the fact that pretty much every character in the Marvel Universe is in this game, to the point where they are sticking in
like characters.
really weird characters. Like they just did a double set for this new Secret Wars of characters who are only existing for 6 months in this weird universe.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they got Captain America and a T-Rex dinosaur. They like work together as a team in this. Now that's awesome, right? But that's not a character that you think about using.
Your face was
dumb,
priceless.
actually.
You looked at me. Is this kid serious? What is it?
No.
It's happening right now.
In the Secret Wars.
Law's marbles.
No, in the Secret Wars, everyone's in different spots. So Captain America's like a gladiator, and he fights with a T-Rex. He's like the champion for the people. So they fight side by side. I'm not sure who the pet T-Rex is supposed to be. It might be, I don't know who it is. Anyhow.
It's called America.
But I really do like Marvel Legendary a lot. There's a ton. I love the fact that they even made the villains. They made the villain set, so if I want to say Magneto's a good guy and play with that, I can.
Yeah.
Now, Magneto, Sabretooth, Professor X, and Wolverine. That's a cool team, right? So, anyhow, Marvel Legendary, my number 2 as well as Sam's.
Cool.
And finally, number 1.
All right. Going for the 20 here. I can feel it this time.
Let's put my spectacles
18.
Oh,
I'm on
boo.
fire.
13.
And I suddenly have a 9.
No, you're still an 18.
And I have a 17 now.
Hey, you win.
Hey, look at that. Thank you.
Oh, cooperation.
We'll go down that way, I guess.
Man, do you know what Zee's number 1 is?
Huh?
It's been mentioned.
It's been mentioned.
I can't imagine that it would be Ascension.
It's not Ascension.
The only other one that was mentioned that I think would be Super Motherload, but that couldn't be your number 1.
Again, it's a game in which the deck building is not the whole game.
But you said it's been mentioned.
Not the whole
Yeah.
game, and it has been mentioned.
Whose list?
It's not a
Can't be on
Your
mine.
list, yeah.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Super Motherload is right.
Oh, you jerk! I just said that.
It can't be Super Motherload.
That's your number 1?
That's my number 1 deck building
Wow,
game.
it's a good. Well, it's on my top 10, but still,
It's
wow.
a great game, and again, the deck building facilitates the rest of the game play. I love the digging, the finding, the set collection, all of it works really well together. I really like that game. It's a solid game, quick. It's exactly my kind of game. A game that's about 45 minutes. It's mid-weight. It's clever without being overwrought. It just kind of hits a lot of, it checks off a lot of boxes for me. And the deck building in it is not overwhelming. It's part of the good mixture there that's, makes for a neat game. Yeah, I really like the game. I like Super Motherload. Goofy title, yeah. But everything else I think I like. I like
Cool.
the artwork in it, and the gameplay is really neat. So my number 1 is Super Motherload. And I cannot figure out what your number 1 is.
My number 1 was on Sam's list, but I like it way more than he does.
You've already said Dominion.
It's not a deck building game, it's a
Marvel Dice
dice
Masters.
building game. Marvel Dice Masters.
okay.
As you can see, I like Marvel. But it's not just Marvel Dice Masters. The thing about Dice Masters that thrills me is that it's Marvel Dice Masters and there's DC Dice Masters, and I can mix them. And I love that,
Yu-Gi-Oh.
the Yu-Gi-Oh! I can take or leave. But I really like the D&D. I just got the second set, and it is really cool. Mixing D&D with Marvel is a little odd.
What are you
A
talking
little
about?
odd, yeah.
Just-
It's very odd.
You just talked about having Captain America riding a T-Rex. What are you talking about?
That's different. That's the
I want to
artwork.
see Gandalf playing hockey.
That's right.
No, that's different because that's an actual character from the universe. I'm not.
Okay.
But anyhow, but the D&D, now that there's 2 sets, there's enough stuff in there to just play D&D. I love the system. It mixes Magic the Gathering with the best elements of Quarriors, even though, unlike you may have heard previously, they're nothing.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, both have dice.
And the dice are used in the exact same
No, because you
fashion.
attack and block with them, and the other one you just got hit.
You attack.
You put out a
can
creature
use
that
them
attacked everyone on the table.
You can, yeah, but you already have a creature out. It blocks.
I love Dice Masters, despite Sam's erroneous protestations.
I love Dice Masters too. It was on my list too, but I'm just not blinded by the similarities.
I don't know if I like Dice Masters as much as
T-Rex, man.
I know, right?
I don't know if I like Dice Masters as much as Jason does.
I mean, you don't buy booster boxes, buy the cartload.
He buys 5 for each set.
Of those blister pack thing,
crazy.
whatever that's called,
Yes, the
gravity feed thing. Yeah.
But I really like it. I like the fact, even from a purchasing standpoint, I like that when you buy the starter set, that's a good chunk.
Yeah.
And then boosters are $1. And
Yeah,
you can use them right away.
I like the game. I don't play very often because it's like playing a CCG. They're hard to get to the table. But the one thing I don't like about that game is the way they package the boosters. I hate that it's like a couple dice thrown in there with 2 cards, no cardboard backing or nothing.
No, they got
Like,
the cardboard backing now.
They're doing it now.
They've been doing it for like every set except maybe the first.
Dude, they've been getting warped cards for that game
I
since
don't know.
ever.
We just opened up a bunch of new
Right,
stuff.
they're
like a few
bent
days ago.
cards.
And they were all bent cards. That was
They
just
bend right into shape. I
I don't like that. No.
Okay, well I really.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's like this is sloppy. It's $1, but come on.
if I'm not
It's a
really
box.
worried about it because in essence you don't really use the cards.
You don't shuffle it into a deck,
They're
right?
just sitting there on the
Still,
side.
you know, I mean,
Either way, I love the gameplay a lot. I loved it from the first moment I played it. Very excited to see. Even I assume at some point it's going to die out, especially since they've stopped selling online. Period. So I will see how that affects the game so far. But even if they stop right now, I'd be completely satisfied with what they have out. Again, they've hit almost every character in the Marvel
Got
universe.
like, 4 boxes full of dice, don't you?
It's 5, and there's another one, so 6.
See?
Yeah.
He's got plenty.
I
He
got
doesn't
plenty.
need any more stuff.
But if they make more, I want it. Okay,
All right, my number 1
AEG.
is by AEG,
on.
and it is Thunderstone Advanced. Thunderstone Advanced. My favorite version of Thunderstone Advanced is Numenera. I was fortunate enough to have a copy given to me by Ryan Metzler, so thanks, Ryan. But I really enjoy Numenera because it has that kind of hybrid between like a steampunky, sci-fi, fantasy.
That's your favorite version too, I bet.
Fantasy
By
type
far,
stuff
by
too.
far.
And so it kind of brings a lot of different genres that I really enjoy and packs them into the same theme. Keeps the gameplay the same as far as, you know, getting your squad together at village and then going into the underworld or what have you.
Can you play that set, just that set on its own, with that whole epic thing that's on?
You can.
You can, I guess, but I mean, the whole part of Epic is that you have like zounds of cards everywhere.
Yeah, but you could play one set with Epic. With me for Epic, I got rid of like all the cards except 3 of each kind. If you're just playing with one
I
set,
see.
you keep all the cards of each kind, and you
Right.
still have plenty of stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So the Epic version is cool. I just don't have enough to really bling it out to its fullest extent. So I'm cool with just playing with Numenera with the way it comes, but far exceeds anything Dominion ever put out for as far as I'm concerned. And so Thunderstone Advance is my number 1.
Well, those were our top 10 deck builders. What did we not mention? Baseball highlights.
Valley of the Kings was on the short list,
Magnum Opus.
and then I had on here Zeppelin Attack, but that's because I was running really dry. Zeppelin
Tell us
Attack is
what we missed. Tell us what you would put. Tell us your thoughts. Of course, this is our last top 10 list of 2015. We'll see you guys next year. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia, thank you.
Sam Healey. See ya literally on the flip side.